So 3 of them. A lot of times these can be. So they're actually
something else too.
They've been out there for a while, but you just never know like
who they are.
Who's behind.
Like a big group of.
That's how they usually go because it can't be that one person. You know, it's like a fake page or all of the news.
Yeah, I'll deal with that chicken later because you're gonna open some, do some now.
And we're live.
Go for it.
Last week you said this was your week. I'm not playing with you.
Welcome to another edition of Soulful Sundays. My name is Shaka. I'm with my esteemed guest or fellow host,
Lisa B.
Happy to get it. Yep.
Steph Lover.
we can't hear you.
Steph Lover, baby.
All right. Let's go.
Anyway, we have a lot to discuss. So let's get our appetizers out of the way, which is our winners and losers for the week. Who you got for your winners and losers, Steph?
Well, I'd like to start with my loser off top. Muriel Bowser decided this week to reduce the speed limit in DC to 30 miles an hour. So just remember, next time you drive through the city, it's a fucking motorcade. Y'all just
Niggas got shit to do, man.
an hour, they trying to get all that good speeding camera coin. I'm not here for it. I will be.
What they lower to?
Say it again.
What they lower to?
20 miles an hour.
What's that?
20.
Crazy.
20. All throughout the city. So she's a loser for that in the midst of everything else that's going on. I mean, like, really, it's a blatant money grab. I think it's very opportunistic, and shame on you, Muriel Bowser. I don't like that. My winner this week. I was really excited and incited by a very passionate speech from Tamika Mallory of Until Freedom. She's my winner of the week because she woke my old ass up. When I tell you, hearing that lady's passion, just controlled, articulate, able to connect, very relatable. She's my winner and she's my shero. Girl crush.
That was gonna be my winner of the week. As actually, good one.
Yeah, she's phenomenal, and I'm interested in getting into more conversation about her as we get into our meet later.
As we should. Lisa, who you got?
All right, so my winners, and I'm just going to say this. Some of these corporations and universities have been stepping up. Now, I'm going to say why. Because there's one thing to issue a statement that says, hey, I don't know, we understand, guys. That's hard enough to do. But to pledge, for example, Target is one. I'll give Georgetown another shout out because they didn't just say something, they pledged resources. And for as many people who were upset that Target was being ravaged and whatnot, then I saw them say, don't even worry about that. Like, they wasn't like, they were like, we're going to play our employees who can't work in those locations. We're going to be on the ground to make sure that families in need of the supplies that our stores offered will still have access to those supplies during this time, and we will rebuild. So don't even worry about it. I was like, you know what? Georgetown put out a statement too, and talked about some of the things that they have done and will continue to do. And I appreciated that. And their statement wasn't even just like it wasn't surface level. They wrote a whole we understand how this came to be. This isn't just happening because of one thing. This is systematic, and we have pledged, and have demonstrated our commitment to our students and to our community at large. And these are the things that we've done, and we will continue to do these things. And we understand that this is happening, and we understand why it's happening. Like, that is something that a lot of people, and they're not alone. So there are quite a few other places that have also released statements like that. And I think even one of the store owners, like, I know that there was a black man who had a store in the area that burned down, and he hadn't even gotten a chance to open it up yet, or had just opened. So I know there was an outpouring of support for him, but there was another business, a small business in the area, that was also burned down, and the man was like, look, let it burn. And so I say that those are the winners.
Yep.
There's a nice commercial floating around, speaking to that same subject matter.
Mm-hmm. And our losers continue to be, to me, our administration, because and I'm sure there are worse losers, but that individual continues to sound the dog whistle, like, every time. Like, he doesn't give up an opportunity. That whole MAGA loves the Negroes thing, I couldn't believe I was hearing that out his mouth. And then to go on, with his Twitter and say those things about us versus very nice people, right. When he was talking about other people, and he makes real life distinctions between the people that he's talking about and the call to arms, right, that he makes. And he's so unapologetic about that shit.
You're wide open with it.
He don't care.
When the looting starts, the shooting starts.
Did you see?
Says that.
For stepping up.
And what you got?
I didn't even have any winners and losers for today, but I'll pull some out my ass, I guess. But I got a winners, like, just the sound bites that I've kind of just fed off of. I think two of them kind of really speak to how we, what the situation is, and how we should really act on them. I think the first one was, like, just a real small thing Cornel West said, and in an interview on CNN, I believe, it was like, the system cannot reform itself. You know what I mean? And that speaks to the state that we're in, that the system is in. Is locked in, and with a leader like 45 and all his all his underlings, they're locking in the mechanism of oppression, and they're moving forward with that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if like he said, the system is in a place where it can't reform itself. You know what I mean? So and that is actually a call to us. That's a call to the very thing that's happening on the streets. You know what I mean? So that, to me, really spoke to, to kind of identify where we are. Another one was when Killer Mike was in Atlanta, and he made some statements that, that rung true, because I believe, I don't know if we're ready to be out there yet. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if we're in a place where, we've planned properly, we've strategized properly, you know what I'm saying? We've resourced properly. And that's what especially with so many agitators out there in our midst, creating a narrative that our initial efforts were for, you know what I mean? And so when we can't control that narrative, I think we have a responsibility to pull back and reorganize and try something different, where so we can't be circumvented, our efforts can't be circumvented in a way that doesn't serve us and the protest. So big up to Killer Mike and Cornel West for kind of just throwing out gems out there that I can attach myself to. And losers are just everything. Everything is a loss right now. I don't even have a specific thing to kind of point to, because it seems like Shaka made a statement. I think he said it's just a double down. You know what I mean? And it's like I just don't even know I don't even know where to start, you know, with some of the things that potentially could happen with everything that's going on. I guess when you kind of think about things and, you know, where things are, you know, it's like there's so much loss that can happen with everything that's going on. That scares the shit out of me, you know what I mean? And so that to me is just people just, you know, how individuals probably are feeling in a lot of places. So that's you know, that's kind of how I feel about, you know, the loss. I don't really have one, but that kind of speaks to where I'm at with it.
I agree. A lot of us are losing right now. But my losers for the week is the name Amy. I mean, you're gonna have to add Amy to the lexicon of white women we don't fuck with.
Yeah.
I mean, starting with Amy Cooper, of course, who tried to call the police on my man and accuse him of attacking her, which didn't go well for her.
Your dog.
But also Amy Klobuchar. She had an interview with I mean, this is a particularly bad time for her. Everything going on in Minnesota, because she was one of the prosecutors that came up upon one of this guy's charges. One being a murder charge, one being just an assault charge. None of them sought prosecution. So she's under fire. And she gave an interview with Andrea Mitchell. It was kind of a fluff interview at first, so I was kind of upset. But she saved the best for the last. Towards the end of the interview, she asked her about those things, and she didn't have a very good answer. I mean, basically, you can cancel her for being vice president. That's pretty much what Andrea Mitchell asked her. Like, why should anybody would think, you know, twice about you as a option? So add Amy to the list of Becky and Karen, Jennifer, all a name of white women that just we hate. As far as winners, I think the prospect of those who want revolution, whether you want it or not, is happening. Whether it be voluntary or involuntary, there's a revolution happening amongst us. It's a matter of what side you're on, and how much energy you got to join this fight, because it's happening whether you join it or not, whether you agree with it or not. It's in our midst. So for all our ancestors that waited for this day for us for uprising, it's happening. Not sure what the outcome is going to be, but it's happening.
Absolutely. Crazy time.
Raise a glass. What y'all got today?
Hey, what do I have?
I bet
I got an empty cup. That's a problem. An event. So,
I don't have anything.
Entree? What we got for the entree?
Stephanie, did you do yours?
Hmm?
Yeah, I did.
Did Stephanie do your winners and losers?
Yes,
Went first, Grandma.
Oh. Okay, so I would like to start our entrees by saying, on this day, 1921, May 31st, the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre occurred. On this day, what do you imagine the energy is 99 years ago? The energy right now. Is that our ancestors?
Absolutely.
Right now is karmic.
What?
What was that?
I was saying that the events that are happening now then are karmic. It's very.
Yeah.
I'm into numerology.
A lot of black businesses burned this weekend.
I didn't know that until you just told me.
So, so how do y'all want to start? But I would like to say something just to build off of a conversation that I think Anthony started when he said he attributed the conversation to something Killer Mike said, and I would like to add on to that is that what we're seeing right now, like back in the days, a lot of this was measured, it was intentional, it was scheduled, so to speak, and that was good, and it was also it opened up a bunch of vulnerabilities for us, because just as you plan for a date, then they can also plan for a date, right? And just as you plan and organize, they can, co-opt those plans and organizations so that they can be a part and get intel and then be subversive and plant some things in. So that is bad, but so that opens up that type of, pushback and activity. That opens it up to some vulnerabilities around security. However, they were trained. That's the one thing that we're missing in this effort, is that there are certain things that if you really want to protest, and as I said earlier, some of this was a peaceful protest, a demonstration of will and might, and a lot of that was still met with not very polite police who were just standing around. Like when the white supremacists, when they were out with their guns and stuff, you could see pictures of them interacting pretty nicely with those people. Well, for us, it's completely SWAT team, adversarial, and then sometimes, they've been doing things to kind of incite people. Not saying that we don't want to incite ourselves. Some of that energy was high, so some of the stuff we did, we wanted to do. But I think that when you look at how they brought the young people out when they were doing their protest, and SNCC, and even with Martin Luther King Jr. and others, and even the Nation of Islam, they all trained, and the Black Panther Party especially, they all trained around what do you do when you go out there? How do you protect yourself? How do you protect others? How do you identify people who are a part of your movement? How do you neutralize people who are not a part of your movement? How do you get supplies? And when my daughter showed me these videos, because, as COVID was really catching, wrecking shop in China, that had happened in the middle of a Hong Kong protest, and it was about how Hong Kong's place in China, because it was kind of like its own little entity, but they were trying to keep them out of the larger realm.
Right.
Yeah, because they were, that's what I was, okay, so I was corrected. So basically they had autonomy, and China was trying to take that away from them. And so that's why Hong Kong had been fighting all of this time. But when I started looking at the video she was showing me of the tactics that they used, they created supply chains. They were able to do so many things in opposition to very, very aggressive and violent police. Like that retaliation, but they know how to take the cones, for example, and put it over the tear gas, and they all run through, and they had spotters, so they had people playing different positions. When that comes, if you couldn't sling it back to them, you put the cone over it, and you put everybody douse some water into it, and you know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of stuff that we have to know. Those are the tools that if you're going to be out there for a movement, even if it's something that is peaceful or not, those are the things we have to know. And so we got to take some of those things that our ancestors did have in place and repurpose them for these times.
We can do that.
And I think one of the things that they said was like, be like water, and that was like a old Asian kind of adage or whatever. It's like, be where your enemy is not, you know what I mean?
That's exactly right.
That's the things that we have to do, like in a coordinated way. And when you watch the way we are out there now, we just got young people just running around, you know what I'm saying? And we got to be more of a collective and moving kind of like a hive. You know?
Yeah.
We gotta make
like Lisa was saying. And so to get to that point, we have to be trained. So we have to take the time off the streets line to train ourselves, to get ourselves to a degree where this stuff is like muscle memory.
It's a great time for it. I mean, everybody's in the house any damn way. How do you connect? How do you grab the people who are interested in furthering that agenda? How do you work? I mean, can we get this to work as well as we get people to download and install TikTok? I'm seeing about 5
Probably not as fast.
myself. I just wanted to see. But I mean, is there some way that we can go viral without drawing into our society? I mean,
It's gotta be small cells. It's got to be personal contact. Each person has a small group of people that they train. It's never going to be an entire mass of people because, and so what happens is when it pops off, those cells of trained people go in, and they can kind of move the crowd in a way that's more purposeful. You know what I mean? It's like infusing, the movement. You're still going to have your outliers, the people who, want to do what they want to do, but you kind of come in and you sweep over them, and they fall in line because they don't have no direction. So if they see a uniform direction, then they will more likely fall in line with that. But it can't be I don't think a call, because then you're going to get the people who want to learn the techniques for other reasons.
Absolutely.
And plus, we in a different century. So that top-down leadership, it has to be like grassroots. We all move in concentric circles, and we form together like Voltron at the right time. But with that said, I don't necessarily see the value in being in the streets. We've done that. I'm not knocking anybody that's out there protesting or marching. Just for me, I think it's time for us to organize behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
We have to do it all. We can't afford to do one thing, though. That's why I said the other day, your political people are probably listening right now, and so now those people who don't want to go out into the streets because it's okay if you don't, then those are the people now that need to be putting forth those other strategies because, several things can happen at once. And so you're right. I mean, so you're not going to go in the streets, but them kids and those young people wanted to be in the streets. So that's where they're going to be. And it's people who are going to sacrifice.
I do fear that it's being manipulated. That's my point of saying that. In that we don't need, not just me as in black people, our people. This is their fight. White supremacy is a white man's burden. Even though we're the ones dying from it, they're slowly dying from it. And a lot of them are waking up. A lot of them realize that, you know what? I might not be black, but you know what? I can get choked out in the middle of the street by a cop, and nothing can happen. It very well can.
Right.
It ain't just us. So I think that great awakening is happening, and I'm not saying we shouldn't be out there, but let them do that. Let them work that shit out. Because even the whole vandalism, they're doing it. Even the rioting, they're doing it. It's a white problem. Fix your shit while we fix ours.
I agree. And I think something like to put something into context, just because we're working against a system, and we're working against a system that that works against us, and ideals of individuals that work against us. There was to kind of put it into context, there was the document that the FBI put out years ago that that stated that white supremacists were trying to infiltrate police departments across the nation. And I see the head nods, so everybody familiar with it. And to me, it's like we have to jump to certain conclusions at the end of the day. We can't necessarily kind of unveil itself because adults are what they are. You know what I'm saying? People, police are getting shot. Not police are getting shot, but individuals are getting shot by police. Unarmed. And and that guy's face, I don't remember the cop's name that put his knee on the guy, George Floyd's neck. Just the look on his face was just so, just so content and matter of fact and
comfortable, like he's done it before or he's not tripping.
Right. Well, he did before. His record said he did before, so it's not like it's not a an aberration.
He was on brand.
He was on brand. But I think another thing is we gotta. I was listening to and I almost had him. I didn't want to pick on your uncle, but I almost had him as a loser of the week because he was on there. He had an interview with Craig Melvin.
Who's that?
Craig Melvin is a MSNBC black MSNBC anchor, and it was just a soft interview. And you could tell after the interview how disappointed Craig Melvin was with his answer. And even Chuck Todd was like, basically said, you didn't really like the way he answered that question. Because basically asking them, what is his plan for this? Or how's he going to fix this? And he's still talking in platitudes. We got to talk and do better and bad apples type shit, not recognizing there's a systemic problem that needs to be addressed in law enforcement.
Who did the interview?
Craig Melvin.
No, but who was the interview?
Joe Biden. And it was just so woefully insufficient when you know where. And I listened to Cuomo today too. Cuomo was looking real good when he talking about when COVID was the enemy.
Right.
When white cops become the enemy, Cuomo becomes a real bitch. He struggles to find the words to talk to the issue. So the same thing, training, this and that. None of them want to talk about the FOP and the inordinate amount of power and disdain that the FOP has for our community.
Absolutely.
And they really are enemies. They hate us. I mean, if you listen to this, and it doesn't matter whether it's the New York unions, down south, St. Louis,
right.
Minnesota, they all sound the same. They all had the same disdain for us. They all speak with the same just harsh tone, authoritarian. So
absolutely.
I don't think that they're prepared to even discuss that as even a problem when that is the problem.
Right. I agree.
Because there's a lot of decent police chiefs around the country. That's one of the remedies that have been enacted. They have police chiefs that are humane, or at least halfway decent human beings.
Right.
But they have no power because the unions never met a police killing of a black man that they did not agree with.
Correct.
Right. But I remember you said a long time ago that if they had to pay, like if there was a police shooting and they had to pay that money, that they wouldn't be acting like that. And I would love to see how we can operationalize that. Like doctors have malpractice insurance, right? Yep. Like there are people, lawyers, they have a certain insurance that they have to have, right? Yeah. So then why couldn't we require that of them?
I mean, there needs to be a blitzkrieg against the unions. They need to take them to court. I mean, it's going to be kind of hard now with Trump stacking the courts, but they need to, like, from ballot initiatives to congressional laws where they're really targeted, where they are like cities should be suing them for because I mean the amount of money that city budgets go towards the police is ridiculous. They're single. I mean, almost more than the best budget. The way the kind of money they siphon from communities. That's not even counting the suits, all the overtime these officers get. Like those overtime, them officers in Minnesota, they're making bank right now. They're happy. They love those because they
well over $100,000.
Easy.
With those overtime incentives and stuff.
Easy.
Crazy.
Some 200, 300,000. They're killing. They're making killing in communities they don't live. So that money's coming out of those communities. And they're abusing the citizens.
Yeah.
And then when the officers who do kill someone and they can't get convicted or they don't get any type of professional admonishment behind it, the cities are paying for all of those high profile except one. Somebody's family got like $1. Like I can't remember who that was, but it was someone recently.
I remember.
Their family was awarded like $1 from the city, but everybody else is getting millions of dollars. So the taxpayers are always paying for, these behaviors for these officers who are so afraid to be at their jobs. I mean, I would too, which is why I'm not an officer, right? So then do something else. If you're,
Absolutely. Yeah, Steph.
Still on the entree, I mean, there's just so much that, I mean, even deciding what to post personally, we all have personal lives outside of our professional affiliations, and being able to, like what is the latitude? What can I say and what can I not say? And it really kind of put me at odds because, my spirit tells me I got to get active, but it's still thinking through maybe a younger vision of myself in my head. But I realize, I'm a middle-aged mom of five, and there's a whole ecosystem of what I call my family that kind of centers around my visibility and participation every day. So my heart tells me, well, I got to reach out to the smart people around me and find out, how can I get involved? So I even talked to you guys the other day, like where do you put your energy to make the best impact? So I looked into some local groups. I looked into, and I'll just put it out here. I'm not endorsing anything one way or the next, but I looked into the DC DMV chapter of Black Lives Matter to figure out, like at least get on the mailing list and find out what's going on. I followed them on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. And then another group I mentioned earlier, headed by Tamika Mallory and another gentleman out of New York named My Son. It's called Until Freedom. At least let me figure if putting my dollars and the dollars of my network behind what they're doing, if that's going to help to fortify our presence in the fight. I can't jump out there. I'm not throwing no tear gas bombs and shit. I'm not doing nothing crazy and radical. I don't think jail life is gonna work on my bones the way I feel in the morning. But I do feel like I want to be involved, and I didn't want to go silent on it because again, I'm not like a huge, I want to share all my feelings on Facebook and Instagram, but I do feel that my silence or even my non-activity is telling certain people where I stand or where I don't. And I'm proud to say that I stand for what's right. And it's unfortunate that most often, we're what's right, but we're just getting shut out in the game that's already been cast against us. So it's disheartening, but that doesn't stop the desire to want to overcome. So playing my position, who I am, and being able to lend whatever talents I have to this, and also making my voice heard to people that are younger than me, whatever that might be. I ain't gonna tell y'all all my business, but just being able to say, I support you in whatever way that is. If that means I'm hooking up something to my car so I can be a Wi-Fi spot somewhere, maybe that's what we do, or making little banks of power available when people are going to be on the street overnight and beyond, and making sure that they're comfortable to some degree. I know that feels like a mouthful, but these are the things that I've been chewing on in my head. This is what's been the entree all week. I mean, it's nothing lighthearted about what's happening or what next steps could be. I don't want that to lend to hopelessness, because there's a lot that we can do. We just got to use our brain and our wisdom to impart the plans to the people who are out here just energy. We got to help direct.
We got to feed the energy. And I think all of those suggestions are exactly the answer to what you're saying. You know what I mean? It's like we gotta do exactly what you're saying, but we have to do it in numbers. You know what I mean? So that way it's more robust. It's more actually going to feed our organizations, feed the people that are out there with the energy. You know what I'm saying? So whether it be through funding, certain organizations, or actually going out, like you said, grabbing resources that kind of help on not on the front line but the back line, water, just helping these organizations. But we have to be trained and well, strategize in a way that actually gets directs us in a direction that gets the results we actually shooting for. But yeah, I mean, I think all those things are what needs to be done. You know what I mean? And we just have to do it in a more collective way. And start out small, like Shaka was saying, just start out grassroots and span out from that point. Everybody knows somebody. It's a spider web effect. You know what I mean? You start with a small group, you start in your house. You got friends, you got people that you connected to. Put that, plant that seed in them, and they'll plant that seed in somebody else, and we'll grow in that way. And then we can fund, Tamika Mallory or Until Freedom or whomever the case may be that we deem,
Qualified.
have that qualified to get that kind of support. So yeah, I think you're on the right path. Period.
I agree. And we gotta have long and short term goals. Like, and we got to see who our representatives are, where they stand on these issues. Like we as a people, people talk about a black agenda. There's no more of an important black agenda than just police reform. I think if we want to have a settle on an agenda, we want to be a one issue voter, because that's what a lot of people are. Well, that's what motivates a lot of people. It's one single issue. The issue should be police reform, and it's definitely a black agenda. Without even stating it, disproportionately, our lives would be saved or made much easier if we resolved the abuse of power in this country.
Absolutely.
And who had the best plan? I know Castro had the best plan coming in the Democratic field, but seemingly none of us really cared. We'd rather just go with a name. I think it's incumbent upon us to actually start thinking and stop being sheep and accept I think a lot of us have a problem accepting our fault in this, and we played a part in this. We played a part in this mess that we are right now, and we don't want to criticize ourselves. We don't want to be introspective, and we don't want to criticize our elders or whoever else is responsible for this. But
we don't have to. I don't think we have to.
I think we do, because I'm gonna tell you why. Because
okay, go ahead.
I'm tell you why, because we don't. They double down. If we don't, because if even now, I guarantee you, most people that selected Biden, they won't say they was wrong. They won't say, nah, they'll just say, stop talking about them. You're gonna mess it up for them. And that's not true. That's not a true reckoning. That's being
okay.
It's pompous. It's bougie. It's arrogant. It's okay to say, you know what? I fucked it. And it's not how to do with Bird. It could be anybody else on there. You made a mistake by going with somebody that is inefficient. He's proven that time and time again that he's not the man for this moment.
So here's why I say we don't need to. I mean, it's not that we can't acknowledge it, right? But I don't think we have to, twist their arm and make them admit that they were wrong. I'll tell you why. Because A, they probably won't, right? So they were introduced to a brand of politics that exists like this. Now it's for us. See, that's why I don't think we got to blame them, because now you old as shit, Shaka. Like, I'm not. I'm still young, but you are old. So we can't really be like we're them like now, right? And so I feel like that's too much energy that we spend in trying to get them to say, okay, I messed up, right? And that energy could go towards us. And I ain't even just saying Bernie. I'm saying we could just reframe how politics are done. And it's not going to be easy, but it's still our responsibility, because now...
That's the reason why I say they should, because here's the thing. Like, if right now, we all agree that Biden is our only chance. That right now, for Biden and apocalypse, that's pretty much what the vote is right now. How else? I mean, you want to convince the people that are reticent to vote for him now. You want to convince them. You can't convince them by saying, "Shut up and vote." Or you can't convince them with an argument. You convince them by saying, "You know what? After this, I'm gonna join you in the revolution." And that's not what we're hearing. We don't hear that from them. What we hear from them is do it and keep doing it. That's it. There's no further analysis. There's no further analysis. There's no promise of saying, okay, we're gonna make this better. It's just that's it.
So here's why I say they don't need to say they're going to join the revolution. We just need to be the revolution. And here's why. Because we keep coming in after decisions are really already made. Like we're coming into a system that exists, and the system that they're already a part of is a system that they've already agreed to. So it's a system of I might stand down on this because I know when it's my turn, y'all gonna raise up for me, and that's the tit for tat, like you scratch my back, I scratch your back system that's been set up. Okay, you do your time, and when you're ready, we're going to put you in this position. Well, that don't work for us no more. Or if you mad, we're going to give you a bunch of money and tell you to shut up, right? Like that has worked for them. That doesn't work for us. But we can't then come in at the end of the game and be like mad about the plays. We got to be in on the play. So now is the time that we're preparing for the next 4 years. And that's our responsibility to do that. They're not going to do it.
But with that, I think we need to take a page out of the Tea Party book. What they did was they went to their right. They went and we on the outside was like, I remember when Eric Cantor lost his seat to a Tea Party dude. I was like, oh, that's great. They about to lose, but they didn't. They kept winning. You know why? Because that party understood that, look, in order for us to stay in power, we got to empower the crazies.
Yeah.
Now,
that was a sacrifice, and then they took the power back.
Now, on the other hand, there's another part that's unwilling to make that sacrifice, and that's why they keep losing. And going back, I mean, this goes back to Jimmy Carter. I mean, there's a great divide in the party where there's a progressive leaning side that really wants to make change and look out for the interests of the people, and then there's another side that wants to play both sides. They want to pad their pockets. They want to take care of the corporations and basically go with the whole neoliberal order. So at some point, something has to give.
I agree.
I agree, and this just goes back to the idea that the system can't reform itself, and there has to be some fringe ideals that force themselves.
The system can break the shit down. It can't fix itself. Only the people that made it can fix it. That's the irony, or the it's not lost on me. You know, there's no way any of us could dismantle racism. Only the people, the constructors, can do it. Can't do it. We don't have the key. We don't even have the tools or the fucking patience at this point.
We have the tools. We have the tools. The system is actually supposed to work, but it wasn't supposed to work for us. Yeah. And so when we were allowed to become a part of the system, they allowed us to become just a certain level of it, right? So they said, okay, Fannie Lou Hamer, I'm going to say it again. I know I've mentioned her before, but she came in, was very vocal at some of the very instrumental conventions that were happening at the local level going up, because that's how it works, the local level on up. We have to be as present there. I mean, if your role is going to be politics, because other people can play other roles, this ain't the only role that we could play. But in terms of reforming how politics play, is we actually have the tools, because the system was set up to be for the people. But we were denied the opportunity to become a part of the entire system. And that's where you know the difference between maybe the more liberal people and then the more uber conservative people, is that some of the conservative people tend to say, this is all because of something that, we don't really want you here. And so we're going to be very clear about and very concise about the role that you play here. And it's that limited. So you still find us having to talk about systematic racism and talking about our humanity, but then you don't have that same fight with the liberal group, right? Because they're not going to argue with you about your humanity. However, when it comes to access to power, that's when they be like, oh, I mean, hold on. And that's when you see who you're up against at the end. But I think that ultimately the vehicle itself can work, but it doesn't, because the way that it's working for certain people, we've allowed to become the system itself. And that's not really what the political system is supposed to be.
Yeah, I think it's like what you're saying, it's the difference between who's driving and who's allowed to drive.
Right.
Yeah. And they cut off. They cut that access off at a certain degree. You know what I mean? And we and to me, at every level, like Lisa was saying earlier, like there's different. We can do more than one thing at a time. And the one thing we have to be consistent about, from our perspective, is pressure on many different levels, grassroots, in the system, out the system. There has to be, and we have to understand that. So there's a learning curve that we have to actually, understand. You know what I'm saying? Political, from the, financial, from the grassroots, whatever. But there has to be a And that's what the Tea Party did. They applied pressure to their own, to their own, and where they were invested in to flip flop and switch up. Who ran what. So we have to do some of the same things on a number of levels. And that pressure has to be there consistently. And we have to understand, what these mechanisms are, how they work, and then, from a political standpoint, get in there. You know what I'm saying? But the system, the system corrupts. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, money. People get off of money. The system corrupts, and that's why it works. That's why it works the way it does. Because as soon as somebody with great ideals, great potential, Obama for that matter, he gets in the system, they're gonna corrupt him to a degree. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to be enough for the system to keep trucking along down the trail. You know what I mean? And ultimately nothing changes at the end of the day. So we have to.
You know what it reminds me of? It's a susu. You know how when you get in, right? We're gonna all put in, and then everybody gets something. And it's kind of like if I get y'all to all put in, and then I'll drop out before y'all can get y'all money. That's kind of how I think people look at why they don't want to move away from the way politics are structured right now. Hey, baby. Because I think they're waiting on their time to get their money out the susu. And if we interrupt that...
More Ponzi.
Huh? Yeah, more like Ponzi.
I mean, absolutely. Absolutely.
Put downline together first.
I think
they get sold a bill of goods that they're going to get something out of it at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And they are. And I think that's why we need an upheaval of the CBC. We need a brand new CBC. Almost all of them can go.
Oh.
I mean, like James Clyburn, what is he there for? He's there for himself. He's there because he's been there for a long time, right. And he has a leadership position. And he don't want to let it go. So he's a company man. He ain't gonna do what's best for the community. I mean, he ain't nothing but a black Mitch McConnell. If you look at his district, is about as poor as Michigan State.
Yeah.
What is he doing for them? He ain't doing nothing. He got his power. He's his own man. I mean, he's a company guy. So I think a lot of them, as much as we love what's my man's name? That got hit in the head on the bridge. He
I'm not saying it.
I say it.
You bet not.
He needs to go. Huh? Lewis, John Lewis.
Oh yeah.
He can get the fuck out of there, man. Bobby Rush, out of there. Get him out of. What's he doing? Nothing. They occupy his space.
Yeah.
A bunch of old black men that act like old white men. They give you lip service and all that. But look at how they vote. Look at where they stand. Look at how they stand on when the issue of Palestine comes up. Like as black people, like we should more than anybody else should understand the plight of the Palestinians, because they live in occupied territory just like we do. Those cops that are in Minnesota, in LA, in Brooklyn, they're all occupying forces. Matter of fact, they go to Israel to train on how to occupy these lands, these foreign lands, and dominate these foreign people. So if we have congressional Black Caucus members supporting that, they're not our allies. They're really not. It's just it's lip service, and it's incumbent upon us to actually start taking action. And that's the kind of action that we need to be directing the younger people. Look at how these people vote. Look at what their priorities are.
Right.
I mean, and
I agree.
I don't know what else,
I agree because it speaks to two things. That first of all, there needs to be some Senate reform as far as the age that a motherfucker can be in office, or the amount of terms. I'm sorry, and probably age as well. You know what I mean? It's like they just can't sit in these seats forever. You know what I mean? And you got to look at how long they've been in there, where to the point where they've honestly just become just part. Yeah, just part of it, and they just go with, how the system is actually moving, and that don't necessarily work for the people at the bottom strungs of communities and from a national standpoint. So
that's why it's a joke, and that's why we never get anybody with any fresh ideas for the presidency. This is why although, we claim number one country in the world and all that, our actions and our output and our outcomes don't reflect it in any way. And it's unfortunate because the people that are up there, they're just there for a money grab, just to hold a spot. It sucks.
And even if
Some of them are trying, but I think that's the other side of politics that I feel like, and I know we argue about this all the time, Shaka. Like, I wish that Obama was going to be president after Trump. I don't know. I take that back. I think I kind of wish he would, because this presidency has blurred the lines. You know what I mean? And the Obama administration, partly because of age, they're a little bit respectability politicky. I get that. Like, nobody is perfect. But I think that they tried to blur the lines as much as they could. But I think that under this administration, they tore them damn lines down. All that pomp and circumstance, all that stuff, because it was tradition or things that had to actually happen. I think whereas he told the line, Trump ignored the line. And I would love to see someone come in, a real progressive, come in now. And it don't even have to be Obama. I just would want it to be a black man or a black woman. But I'm okay with anybody who is super progressive who can come in. But they can't make it without us. And that's the reason why I think people are a little reluctant to say and just throw these older people to the wind, right? Is because a lot of their work depends on seniority. And that, hey, cutie pie. And so seniority is what gets you to be able to be the head of this subcommittee, or, that like power to do those things and make those decisions. And so when we cut them off, like, what is it, Maxine Waters is the head of the finance committee. So whenever, so as things get pushed to her, she gets to make some very strong decisions about what even comes to the table. And those are things that I think we have to find a happy medium with, because a fresh person coming in, especially without us, the citizens, propping them up and consistently following up and flooding these offices with information and stuff, and a pushback. Without, in the absence of that, it don't matter who we put there.
I get what that is, but I mean, in the case of committee heads, all that really means is the lobbyists come directly to you, and you're able to extract more gets from lobbyists. I mean, I'm not saying that's her intent, but at the end of the day, when you're a committee head, that means whatever industry that comes over to your purview, you're the man or the woman.
But that's important, because that means
it's important. I get that. It's important.
Table.
It's also important fundraising. You look at the money that you get. Look at the money James Clyburn takes from the health insurance companies. It's directly related to his position in Congress and his position he's going to take on those hard bills. And you can't separate that. I mean,
no, I agree.
They're not sitting there. They're not sitting there to be committee heads to be the vanguard of what's going to happen to us. I mean, I'm not saying they out there not looking out for our best interest when they can, but if our best interest and their best interest don't intersect, a lot of times they're not going. We're gonna lose.
Accurate, yeah.
So I mean, at the end of the day, like, what is it like? I don't feel like we need to be supporting you just so you can get a committee, without.
No, I don't say that at all. I agree with that. Not at all. I was just saying I think that's what I think makes people not want to shake that, rock that boat, is all I'm saying. I wasn't saying that it was the best decision, but I think that's kind of the other side of it.
And I think what has to happen is, like, there has to be a consistent rocking of the boat. You know what I mean? And that's why I say we got to be in a place where we're applying pressure to those people in seats in the Senate or the Congress, that they're not comfortable enough to sit there and make deals that aren't to their constituents' benefit. You know what I mean? We have to have certain pressures. They can't be comfortable enough to vote on certain legislation that doesn't necessarily serve us, because they know we'll react. They will have every 4 years that they could be out of there. You know what I mean? And we have to have that we have to have that consistent pressure to that end, that they don't necessarily get comfortable making these kind of, putting in legislation these kind of deals, basically, that benefit them and probably corporations or companies outside of where the reason why we put them in office. So that pressure has to be consistent. That keeps them on their toes. Right now, they mad comfortable. They mad complacent. They'll go with anything, with any, piggybacking on any legislation that puts something in their pockets or put something in somebody else's pockets that benefits them at the end of the day. So, from that and from the political landscape, we have to have something. We have to have a mechanism in place that's constantly putting pressure. And that's what has happened, because they can't be comfortable. They shouldn't be comfortable in those seats. Crickets.
Agreed.
Drinking. Okay. No, I mean, you made excellent points, and I think that for a lot of people who are not usually in tune to this degree of what's going on around them, including the COVID, the conflicting stay-at-home restrictions for the various jurisdictions within the DMV area, I think people are overwhelmed. People are concerned still with, oh wow, I did not make my May rent. That next stimulus may or may not be coming. That was something that was also a concern prior to this social outrage. We were still outraged at the fact that people got a $1,200 check. Some people got this $1,200 check recently. And some people are still trying to decide, do I buy food or do I pay my rent? People with medical expenses that now lost their job, that was their source of health insurance. There are a whole lot of other equally important issues that remain, despite the fact we're still talking about racism and its effects dozens of years after this was supposed to have been resolved through some legislation. So I think people could be feeling like really disgusted and disappointed by, the government on the federal and the state level. They don't know what they're supposed to be paying attention to, because all they were worrying about was surviving in the first damn place. They're like, damn, now some political shit gonna break out too. Oh my God. I was just trying to make sure I had enough money to take the kids somewhere for their birthday later this year. Everyday type of goals and expectations for the people who were making it. A lot of people are not making it. A lot of people have to revise their whole landscape of thought processes that lead them to success every year by their metrics. A lot of people don't do the goal setting and all of that, but you see it in your end results, your outcomes. What am I able to do? A lot of people have lost opportunities. There's a whole small business segment that got screwed on this. All of the relief efforts were exhausted, and it didn't really translate well into our community, least of all our community in the framework of being a small business. There are a lot of people that are just now getting approved for their unemployment within the state of Maryland, where I live, and they still haven't gotten the money, but they're just now getting approved. This is outrageous, and for most people who don't have anyone to give them that hand-holding direction into how does my voice and my vote make a difference, people are feeling hopeless as hell.
Yeah.
I don't have nothing for that. I'm sorry.
Can't hear you, Lisa. We can't hear you.
I said, so where are you all on us opening? I'll tell you that one of the things that I saw was that back before racism took over, it was like it did a handoff with COVID. They was like, hands, do. So they passed the baton. But before that, they were talking. I saw that lots of states had these Facebook pages like reopen whatever state. And I started to look. I looked at a couple of states. And it was very interesting that for some of those Midwestern states, it was other people who were admins and who had started that from, who had started those groups on behalf of other states that weren't even from that state. And if you go into the state and you see how they just incited all of these people, and then you'd hear all of these people start to say these horrible things about, you know, feeling enslaved and feeling like their rights were taken. And it was just like how, but you see it quietly happening, and you don't really realize that somebody has issued an edict to go out and start this so that the people themselves fight their government. And that takes the emphasis off of the administration in terms of what they're doing to support people. So one of the things that I was thinking about is I started to see that now people are talking about their plan for opening. And I've seen schools have these like crazy weird desks set up where you have all this plexiglass around the desk. And then you see the restaurants that are opening outside first, and then those that have the inside, you see they got all these areas taped off. Where are you all with that? Do you want to start? Do you want to reopen with that?
I don't mind reopening. I just have a different perspective with all that, and I think what a lot of it is really top heavy, and quote unquote elite, really battling. You know what I'm saying, with amongst others. I mean, because pharmaceutical industries, I'm sure there's a push for all this lockdown, wait till vaccinations come out, keep people in the house, blah blah blah. And then you got other corporations that are customer facing, where they depend on that customer interaction. They depend on people coming in their store. So there's a top heavy conflict, I think. And then just individuals as a whole, they don't want to be told what to do. This is a country predominantly, the predominantly population is white folk. You know what I mean? And they don't want to be told what to do at the end of the day. And they'll really press on their constitutional rights to do what they want to do. Their pursuit of happiness, to do as they, they'll really lean on their constitutional rights and their Bill of Rights to do exactly what they want to do. So I'm not mad with that, especially with some of the things that are coming down, with are masks really effective? You know what I mean? What are the masks really doing? You know what I mean? So and that's just me, you know what I mean? So I'm for opening things, because even like countries like Norway or something like that, where they didn't necessarily lock down everything, and even this country, when Spanish flu was popping, people still had the ability to maneuver through the community and do concerts, what have you. They just wore masks, and shit like that. But to this degree, where people are told to stay in the house, that I'm not 100% on board on that. So I'm cool with shit open. You know what I'm saying? But people, I think washing your hands and being more hygienically conscious is more effective than people going in the house and wearing masks. That's just me. So that's where I'm at with it.
I guess I feel similar. Like, open it up. I don't know. I ain't a scientist. And a lot of that shit, like the science behind it, I mean, even the scientists, from what I see, don't really know.
Right.
It's some new shit. I mean, they had it closed down for long enough. The experts saying open it up. We'll see what happens. If more people die, I don't know what to say. We in a crazy time right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Racism ain't taking a day off. So my bigger issue is racism. I mean, so like the plague, the epidemic of white supremacy is killing more people than COVID ever has.
And it stays awake. It
don't take no day off. So
we just hit 100,000 this week. I just wanted to mention that.
Say what?
We just hit 100,000 this week with COVID infections. So.
His racism. Hold my beer. Watch me get busy. I mean, right. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Now, is that COVID infected, or is that COVID infected in the sense that doctors are...
Deaths.
Right, COVID deaths in the sense that the death certificate says COVID, but doctors are being pressured to put COVID.
Indicate, yes, because it fits the narrative.
All right, bet.
Yeah, I just said allegedly.
Right, okay.
The carry out, but yeah.
Can't hear you, Lise.
We can't act like it's not, though. Like, we know that some are, but we don't know to what degree, right? So I would be hard-pressed to believe that you have 50% of the doctors who are doing that, labeling it that. You know what I mean? Like, I would be hard to believe. But even if you wanted to say 25%, and let's say it's only 75,000 deaths, right? That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people, especially if we're overrepresented in that number. So I just think that on one hand, we have three things to talk about. We have maybe you don't die. Maybe 80% of the people do live. But what does that experience not dying from it look like, right? And how are you assured whether or not your ability to survive will be a comfortable, experience, right?
Well, I think that has a lot to do with how people are treated, because I don't think people are being treated properly. I
agree with that too, and that's why you got to try to not be sick, right? So if you're predisposed to certain things, try not to fucking get sick, because it may not work for you. You know what I mean? So yeah, so being extra precautious is important, rather than people saying that, oh, everybody doesn't die, or people are fudging the numbers. Yeah, that might be true. I don't want to find out what that shit actually looks like firsthand, though. So I'm gonna let y'all go out and kick it.
I thought maybe in round 3.
Maybe. I think more of it should be an impetus really for us to get our health in order. To really start taking care of ourselves, be knowing that, decrease the morbidity within us. And that's the greatest lesson I think we need to learn. And I think it's fool's gold to white folks. The white folks out there, I think they really believe that they can't get it. It's a black disease. I mean, they filter information differently. So they once they got it in their mind that, look, it's not us. It's not an us thing. It's them thing. It's a fuck it. I think that's fool's gold. Also, I think there is such thing as herd immunity. So at some point, we do want that to really settle in, so that we can have some kind of immunity towards it when the second wave comes. Absolutely. Because from what I'm understanding, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm only just listening to the ones on television. Some of them make sense. I kind of use my discernment, but they said the second wave could be a lot worse, potentially. And we should be prepared for that. So we want to have some degree of herd immunity. So if anything, I'm hoping that our people, when the next wave hits, we ain't the ones that's gonna be needing the respirators and stuck in the hospitals.
Absolutely. I think
we had it already. I hope it's true, and I hope that we are able to pass those wonderful antibodies to our loved ones.
Yeah, I think it's totally about being, immune conscious. Like, honestly, it's about how your immune system, reacts, and how much you build it up. You have to be active about building your immune system up, because that is the cure. That is how your body reacts to any type of invaders is what the issue really is. So that's my opinion.
And for this particular disease, back to Shaka's point, it's helping in the interim, right, improve your immunity, but it's also just being healthier, right? So if we know that it's getting overweight people, at a different rate, or people who have asthma, or people who have certain things, then as much as you can manage those things ahead of time, we should continue to do that.
Where is Dr. Sabi? No, okay.
He had died.
In a better place.
He's in a better place.
2020, right. Man. What are we gonna do about 2020?
2020 it's almost a wash right now.
It's gonna be a mass hypnosis on New Year's Eve. We're gonna be like Men in Black.
None of this happened?
It's crazy.
What if 2021 is worse?
Yeah.
No, it's not. You know why it's gonna be better? Because it's the end of the world. And it's the end of the world as we know it, right? So a lot of things are gonna have to change. A lot of things are going to have to change, and I think we know that certain things can't go back, and we just need to make sure that as we rebuild and as we come out of this, that we are in the place to push things not back into order, but in a new direction. And that's on us. Either we sit back and let shit go back and we pretend everything is normal, or we make sure that the people who need the support get the support. We have the systems in place to do the things that they're supposed to do. People are engaged in politics. People are building their businesses. Like, we've got to make sure that moving forward, we never forget.
Right. Absolutely. I think it's like that. What's that song? It's the end of the age as we know it. You know what I mean? So that doesn't mean it's the end of times. It's a transition to something different. So
it's the people who tell you that, right? It's people who the people who say it's the end of the world. It means something different for them than it may be for us.
I agree with it. It's like the New World Order. I remember back in the day, I used to read like Behold That Pale Horse.
Yeah,
like William Cooper's books. I used to read it one way, talk about the New World Order being a bad thing, but now I understand it differently. Whereas the New World Order coming from that right wing, that right brain, reptilian brain, they see the world coming together as one people as a bad thing for them because they can't dominate.
Correct.
When we all separated, like, divided we fall, united we stand, divided we fall. So that's how they conquer. That's how they conquer the world. I mean, we dealing with a beast. I'm talking about the white man. That's a minority in the world, but he controls the world's wealth. Absolutely. I mean, why? Because he's been able to dominate, and that's been the whole the 20th century and prior. That's how it's been from the Industrial Revolution. Even before that, they've been controlling the tides, and they've been able to do that because they've been able to dominate people pretty much since the invention of the gun.
And they've been able to dominate people because they take large groups of people and turn them into small groups of people. You know what
exactly.
I mean? And
they make it tribal. And that's why tribalism, that's why what I was saying before, we got to be able to look up for our tribe without being tribal.
Correct.
We can't afford tribalism because that's what we lose, because our strength is in numbers, and not just our numbers, because we represent the meek. Well, we talk about this, the meek of the earth, with the meek, that where we are the true, we are Jesus. The story of Jesus, that's the story of the Black family. Like, that's us. If we're able to, that's what one thing that bothered me about the Christianity within us is that we feel to grasp the meanings of a lot of the symbolism that we fall for, that we are slaves to. We don't understand the symbol.
Absolutely.
That is us. Like, we are the children of Israel. We are that people. Yeah, and we don't understand that shit.
I believe that, symbolically, we just, however it's categorized and described, we fit that description more than any other group of people ever. Period.
And we're not claiming our throne. It's time for Black men and Black women to finally get over the insignificant things that separate us. I mean, and there's a lot of strife between us and y'all. I mean, we see it every day on the internet. We see how it plays out. How, whether it be the whole Gayle versus Snoop thing. There's a lot of things where we're hard on each other because we oppress people. Hurt people. And I think the more we open up these conversations among each other, and it's cathartic. You know what I'm saying? And we need that. We need to break through this transition we at right now, because we got a fight ahead of us. We got a beast that's like Becky and Bob. They on the same page.
They're ready.
They on the same page. They're not playing. Becky, Amy, Karen, they all on the same page.
They prepared and they organized and they're strategizing against us right now.
That's what they're taught.
Yeah, they're taught that. Absolutely.
We teach inclusion. They do not teach inclusion all the time. We're always more inclusive in what we teach our kids, and I say that
because it's in our nature. It's our nature to take care of those who can't take care of themselves.
And that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. That's empathy. I mean, I don't think we want to lose our empathy. We want to remain empathetic, because, I mean, through empathy, you even understand your enemies, because they don't understand us. They think they know a lot about us. They know about they're diabolical, so they don't have, they ain't got no cut cards.
About us. They know very little about us.
They know very little about us. I mean, but
they only know the important things for them, which is how to manipulate us enough to get what they want. But that's why in 2020 they still learn the shit that we don't like, and we have to know them as a mechanism for survival.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You got to be aware of your captors' likes and dislikes to not fall so often on the wrong side of their aisle.
And they don't know that they're on the menu too sometimes. Like, see, they think like a lot of them think that they at the table. They on the menu too.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why part of what you see outside, like these marches, we see that swell white people. A lot of them, they're out there because they know that they next.
Yeah.
Like we let like if you got Latinos and the babies in cages, y'all don't think they gonna have the same thing for niggas? Like that was my thing with black people. They like, well, that's them. They ain't gonna do with us. They don't speak on our issues. Like, hold on, man.
Like
But they ain't got nothing to do with your issues, man. That is your issue. Like, if somebody's babies like being separated, there's people that's never gonna see their kids again ever. They in traffic, whatever. They gone, and our government's like, fuck it. We ain't got. You shouldn't have came here. That's our problem. Like, if that don't hurt you, that don't cut deep to you.
Right.
And there's a disconnect in you. And if you was born white, you probably be a racist. You probably be a MAGA.
Yeah.
But MAGA loves the Negroes.
MAGA loves the Negroes. Well, MAGA loves certain Negroes. I mean, like MAGA. I mean, because there are some MAGA Negroes, and they're new kind of coon. They're not your typical coon that grew up or have always been of that right wing ideology. It's something about that narcissism that brings out a lot of people like Kanye. It's the narcissism. He's a narcissist. Like they identify with that shit.
Absolutely.
So it becomes them.
Yeah. So where do we direct our attention? Because of course we brought up a ton of issues that are just levels, different layers to the bigger issue. Like, where do we? Because to me, I feel like part of the thing I think Shaka brought up earlier was like police reform and stuff like that. So do we concentrate on that? Because it was one of the, I don't know, something just made me feel some kind of way. I saw a video of a police officer, in his riot gear, and of course he threw up the white power sign. Y'all saw that? To me, that just fuck with me. That just speaks to the arrogance of they've infiltrated the police departments as we know it.
They've been the police department. They ain't infiltrate. You just found out.
Absolutely.
We knew that. I mean, actually, I think in like 2010, Janet Napolitano, when she was the head of the Homeland Security, she put out a memo that that white supremacists have infiltrated all levels of law enforcement, but she rescinded it because they made a big stink about it.
Right.
And I hate to say it, Obama, they took it back when they should have doubled down on it. A lot of it too much, and that's why I kind of agree with you when you said you wish Obama came after Trump, because he'd have been more emboldened, because he wasn't emboldened, because that was a clear. I mean, that was something it was a clear and present danger, and they should have doubled down on it and leaned into it. Instead, they took it back. It's almost like it never happened.
Because they were safe at that point. They were good.
Yeah. Basically, he ripped the cover up and said, you know what? Never mind. We ain't. Never mind. Stay. And that's one of the things that has to be a stickler. Like, if you have any white supremacist leanings or associations, you can no longer be a cop. That should be just cut and dry. If you have a record of abuse like this dude had, he had a long rap sheet. You can no longer be a cop. So we have to fight for the laws to be zero tolerance. You cannot do, like, if you can't be, if I had an industrial job and I dropped a pallet and destroyed a product, they're gonna drug test me off the break before I even go back to work. They're gonna drug test me.
Absolutely.
If you shoot somebody in the line of duty, you took somebody's life, you should be fucking tested on the spot.
Tested and investigated at that point.
Exactly. Instead, they get to hide. They get to scrub their social media for a few days. Like, we still don't know the other 3 officers' names that killed Floyd.
But only his brother-in-law.
So coming in the door for me, there should be a thorough investigation of individuals because we're giving them a lot of power. A lot of power on the streets, especially now with how Trump has, kind of doubled down on
having enough representation to make this claim.
Say again?
Of non-whites in Minneapolis. So we have the numbers.
So here's to your point. So what we should do is everything. How about that? Every single thing. So that means that the people who want to start their businesses, they should start their businesses so that they can employ other black people. The people who are interested in politics, then that means that they need to start to creating these little networks of people who and I'm going to do it, okay? So I have a page called Political Asylum, right? And that is because I want us to start to move out of the traditional way that we engage politics into something else, because it's going to have to happen. So I'm willing to be a part of that by sharing information. I've written templates on how to engage, so that people didn't even have to write the shit. They could just text, they could just email, they could just tweet what I've written. And you know what I mean, to build that momentum. So you're going to need people who want to do whatever it is that their gifts and their talents allow, and then the other people support them in that effort. Right. Whether that's real estate, whether that's investing, and whether Shaka we talked about before, PACs, because there are political action committees that already exist. There are some that are very conservative leaning. But I'm saying that there are lots of them that are progressive, and we need to be supporting them.
Yeah, I agree. Not like I was saying, like Lisa's saying, we have to be on multiple fronts at the same time. Yeah, that to me has to happen because we're so behind the curve. You know what I mean? Because these organizations are 10, 15 years ahead of us as far as getting their individual, getting their organizations in line with, to the point they know how to act as soon as the opportunity presents itself.
But you know what? We'll look back in 5 years and be like, damn, look how far we came from 5 years ago today when we organized our networks.
Right. Absolutely.
Of the four on this line have at least 5 to 10 people you can reach out to and make an immediate impact today. And if that was to honeycomb out, I love to hear that terminology about a honeycomb, because it just speaks like that's the way we should work to make a difference.
Absolutely.
And speaking of what you were saying about Tamika Mallory, someone needs to draft her for Congress. I mean, she needs to be like, and that's part of the reason why I was saying start a super PAC. I don't know. I haven't done the research yet, but I don't know. I know I have a set of ideas and policy prescriptions, as I know y'all all yourself. I want our own platform. I don't know what a Black agenda is, but I have ideas with that. We all have ideas. We can put our heads together and come up with a platform, and maybe shop it to whatever existing PACs that are out there. If not, start our own. Because we need to, we need to get more skin in the game on all levels, not just Congress, from the school board. It's because a lot of those ideas and how they shift society is the ideas are incubated from the lowest levels.
Correct. In numbers.
They're having them conversations.
I agree. I'm with it.
Not yet.
What you say, Steph?
I said it's not by and large that we're having these conversations, not yet.
Right.
Yeah, we just got to connect them, because people are having them. It's just connecting it, and there's a reason why these networks aren't circulated as easily. I mean, that's there's a reason, because then that gains momentum and people start to get involved, and then people feel. So it is up to us to make sure that we continue to circulate it. But I do have something for our dessert. I would like to know what you guys are either watching or reading or what you're doing to keep yourself uplifted. And I'll start. I just watched The Banker, which was really good. And there is a reason why it wasn't promoted, and it's not because it was such a good movie. It was some bad things happening, and they didn't do it rather than risk a national conversation about it, which would impact the movie and the message of the movie. So I'm sad, but I actually am okay. But if you guys get a chance to watch The Banker and Jeffrey Epstein's little thing, which after watching that, I'm convinced he's still alive. Like, I believe he's alive. And let me see. There are 2 books that I would recommend. One is called White Trash. And what it does is I think that black people could read it, but I really would like white people to read it too, because it's written by a white woman. But she talks about how, poor white people, where the separation actually occurred. And one of the reasons why that's important is because you'll start to see the Civil War kind of happening around the elites. That's kind of happening right now too. And that happens, and once they take each other out, then they'll turn to separating themselves from poor white people too. But, until then, they're going to continue to use them. But that book is a great book to read.
Yeah, and I think they have some documentaries, documentaries on YouTube that are, titled White Trash. I haven't watched them yet, but I wonder if they're the same thing you're talking about.
Is her name Nancy Eisenberg?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know her background. She could be problematic, but the book itself is very eye-opening. And exercising, eating right. Let me just add that. That's also what I'm doing so that I can live, because I'm about to be fine when outside open up.
I've been getting my walking. I do 10 miles a day at least of walking, and a little bit of running. But also what I've been watching in Mrs. America. You heard of it? It's about Phyllis Schlafly, the women's movement, and how they cover Shirley Chisholm, a lot of women from that era, the women's movement, and it kind of shows how white women betrayed not just the women, black women in the movement, but they betrayed other white women just to be another vehicle for white supremacy. It's pretty interesting. So that's why one of the things that I won't say it's uplifting, but give you some insight on your enemy. So
absolutely. You got Steph?
Okay, well, for me, staying uplifted has really incorporated more inclusion of my children. I have elementary school age kids at home, and being able to connect more with what they're doing versus, things focused and centered around my business, even though that is the way I provide for my family. But I realized that there was some elements that had been lacking and missing. So now I'm able to kind of bring them in. And even as far as having them observe and be aware of some of the conversations I have as being a person self-employed, I think that this has been very instrumental for us. We would have never voluntarily made these type of changes to our schedules and our time together if it weren't for the state saying, hey, stay your ass in the house. So that's made me question myself a lot. And I feel that some of the answers that I've been coming up with are, just really more self-reflective than I planned to be this year. I really was on some more material shallow shit. And I feel like I'm better equipped in my position as an elder to them. So yeah, I know that was long-winded. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Whoever's next, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything specific that I've been checking out or listening to. A bunch of YouTube, posts and some of the stuff they're dealing with, Bill Gates and just trying to get a history on the players that are just in this moment, in this time that we have, who are they? What motivates people to be where they are now and to be pushing the things that they're pushing now. What motivates that? So you want to know who your enemy is, like Shaka said, you know what I mean? I went back and started reading Noam Chomsky's book, Making of Future Occupations and Interventions, Empires, and Resistance. And it just kind of just really kind of shortly kind of envelops, those in power, how they go about grabbing power and how we, have a part to play in that, either in our demise or our, move to power and coming out of that, coming out of that oppression. So it's so much information, and this is one of the things that really gives me hope, that there's so much information out there, you know what I'm saying, especially this time with so much innovation and stuff that we have everything we need to succeed. You know what I mean? And it's just our ability to use it. You know what I'm saying? What do we, do we have the wisdom? Have we been taught, from our elders how to use this information to our best ability? So, I try to grab everything I can and try to just digest it the best way I can. And just hopefully it offers something to that other people can use, or that we can collectively, come together and help move like a hive that we should be for, especially against what we're up against right now, because they're definitely moving, as a hive collectively, moving and responding to things that, look to them as opportunities, to our demise. So, anything I can grab, of course, you want to make sure you kind of identify, people, people's ideas that don't serve you, that come off like they serve, are to your benefit, but are not. So, we have so far to go in getting to a place where things are just automatic and muscle memory. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know if that means anything or says anything.
I do. I get it. I take solace in the fact that we are in an information age, and the more informed you are, the better served you are. And our enemy is on a different track, where they're in the anti-intellectual stage of life, where they facts don't mean anything, and they don't operate on facts. So eventually, we're gonna lap them in the area, because we're in the information age. Those who lack real information, they're not gonna be able to thrive. I mean, right now they thriving off of propaganda and misinformation, but it's only so far that's gonna take it.
Absolutely.
You can't win a race. You can't win a race based on faulty information.
Absolutely. So, I agree.
To the extent that catches up to them, then we'll be at a have better leverage. But we're getting there.
Yeah, I agree. Ladies.
So with that, I guess we'll wrap up another edition of Soulful Sundays.
All right, sounds good.
Any words for the week? Any words to live by this week?
Did anybody want to touch on any of the COVID response? I know we have been really COVID heavy the last few weeks. I don't want to just drop anybody. This so short because we had to pivot and include our direct, cause that we need to discuss. But anybody want to touch on any of the COVID related anything?
I thought we did.
A little bit. Okay. Well, I guess we did them.
It'll be here next week. Pretty sure.
Basically.
Sounds great. Right.
Hopefully we gonna have them 14 days. The people who was out in them COVID streets, so we gonna be able to know what that looked like.
Well, I'm finally getting a haircut on Thursday.
Okay, you got an appointment. Okay,
got an appointment. Oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, y'all be safe.
Hey, y'all be easy.
And leaving just big, just a hour, just really think about those who we lost, the George Floyds, all the way back to Rodney King's, and think about those lives that have been lost, you know, in between that time span, and we sit in the same space now. So we got a lot of work to do because too many lives have been lost to not really, you know, doing what we're doing now, really galvanizing, you know, getting collective thought together so we can do something about it. So those lives have been lost, those George Floyds, those Breonna Taylors, those Ahmaud Arbery's, all the way back to Rodney King.
Back to the slave patrols.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Everything, because it's all a collective, you know, in the physical and the spiritual. So we owe that to them, and I feel like this is at least the part of the conversation that leads to that, you know, leads to that effort. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
All right.
Hey,
All
y'all.
right, y'all be easy.
Yeah. Good rest of your weekend, man.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.